So welcome everybody to what is, I think, the first of, I think what we're going to call it is a Skelwith conversation. On a Monday morning, Geoff, Matt, myself get together and we have a chat about what's gone on in the week, what we're doing going forwards, and anything we need to attend to. And I thought it'd be quite useful just to bring everybody into this conversation and be part of the stuff that we're talking about at the moment. There's no real script for this, so it could go all ways, as these conversations sometimes do. But it'd be interesting to see where we get to. So anyway, as I say, welcome. One of the things that I'm going to start with, which is a really thorny issue, and I hope that will get us going, is electricity. A lot of chatter about electricity, both here at Skelwith Fold and at home. And we've put an awful lot of work over the last probably 4 or 5 years in getting the best possible prices. And I know some people feel that best possible price hasn't been the best possible price, and happy to talk about that. You have anything to add there, Geoff?
Yeah, so when we did the original deal, everyone was on the cheaper rate for a 3-year contract. And unfortunately, like most people's mortgages, that ran out when mortgage rate was high or the price of electric was high, and everyone was signing up at 60 pence, 70 pence, 80 pence. We got a deal which we thought at the time was a really good deal at 40 pence. But in order to do that, we had to commit to it for 3 years. So at the time, it was a great deal. The year after, it was not quite as good a deal, and this coming year, which was tied up till September, it's not really a good deal, but it's the way it is. We've already started looking at after that, so hopefully we'll get a better deal. But when you see people quoting daft prices for per kilowatt, the kilowatt price is irrelevant to the cost. Yeah, because that's really interesting, isn't it? Because we're actually hearing unit prices around the industry of 9, 10, 11 and 12p. Yeah.
But actually when we get to it, that's not what it is it?
It's 30p. By the time you put on all the add-ons will be crazy big. It costs more than electric you're buying.
Yeah, and again, that's interesting as well, isn't it? Because you think, well, how can we get from a unit price of 9, 10, 11, 12p to something up between 30 and 40? And then you think, well, so at home I'm only paying so much. So why is it? Why is there a difference? And I think actually it's been quite interesting over the last couple of weeks as we've been talking to multiple providers of electricity and how we get to that. And I think probably to explain it, which I didn't know, but the northwest of England has got the highest infrastructure charges in the country. And therein lies one of our problems, doesn't it? Do you want to explain that a bit, Geoff?
So, if you take my electric at home, I'm paying £1 a day standing charge on top of the price I'm paying for electric. But when you put it out over the year on a smaller amount, it's not that big a deal. When you get here, and we've got standing charge, I think someone said there's 32 charges on top of the price.
Yeah,
I can't remember what they all are, but then you've got the standing charge, then because we've got a 500 kVA capacity, we have to pay an availability charge just in case we use the capacity. We don't use 500 kVA at the moment, we're only on about 300. But if we dropped it from 500 to 250, which is the next step down, that wouldn't be enough. So we have to stay at that band. So even if we're only running at 300, we're still paying for the availability charge every day for 500 kVA, which makes your add-on charges really mount up.
So then thinking about that and thinking about the solar panels which are on the roof of this building here, Matt, how effective are you thinking they are? Are they working well?
I think they are. They're adding to the usage. We've got solar panels all around the park, haven't we? But if you take the consumption, the reed bed, the pumps, the blowers are all consuming down there. We could nearly say they're equal to the solar panels that we have down there. The usage of the office building, solar panels generating into there, and same with the workshop building, all the toilet blocks as well, the consumption they take. So they'll be helping on that side as well.
But that also makes the customers' electricity cheaper, because that's going into the pie. All this electricity we're feeding in makes their electricity bill less.
Yeah, because there was a time when I didn't understand that. I thought it was separate, but actually it's all put into the global pie, and then it's distributed, which brings our unit cost down.
Yeah.
So I think really what we're saying is that having done quite a lot of work in looking at the energy supply, looking at how it works, how we can streamline it down to get onto the was it 230 kVA?
Yeah.
Which I think is next door to an impossible task. Certainly if we then go on to charging electric cars, which perhaps we should talk about that in a minute.
That's another problem, isn't it?
I think we're stuck with the 500 kVA and we're stuck with the charges that we've got. But suffice to say, it's in our interest as well as everybody else's to keep that price as little as it possibly can be.
So just to confirm, the standing charge and other costs, they're not passed on to the customer as well, are they?
Yes.
In the price per kilowatt.
Yeah. So you've got your unit price, and then you've got these other 30 or so little charges, which are
environmental costs, network,
distribution. There's a whole load of stuff that's all in there, all nibbling away. Then of course you've got VAT on top of that, which then gets to your price per unit.
Mm-hmm.
If we go back 10 years, what we had a unit price and a standing charge, and it was quite simple. But then when they changed the regulations and started to put VAT and all the other bits in, it then became more complicated. And I think that's the challenge it is. But suffice to say, it's no fun, is it?
No. Spend hours on it.
Yeah. Anyway, while we're talking about electric, so I think I mentioned electric cars. Up until recently, we've been able to put car chargers on caravan, we've been able to put car chargers on buildings. But of course, because of the networks, the regulations have changed. They've all got to have an internet connection, and they've got to be controllable by the network. Well, because of the way that we work here and because of our generator, the network can't control us. So the big downside is we can't buy the stuff, can we?
So that's the other problem. So when we first got those green ones you see around the park, they were all smart. So we put the first one in and it didn't work because it had no connectivity. Oh yeah, it can definitely get, no, didn't get anything. So we had to have them all taken out and replaced with a key switch so they can just turn it on and off with a key switch. So that makes it work for them. Then they changed the government changed the rules, and they all have to be connected, and they all have to be, like I said, connected to the system and controllable. So they all have to be smart. Well, in here it doesn't work. The problem is you can't buy them like the old ones with a key switch. If you want to buy a smart one now, they're £900. And because of our infrastructure around the park, they'll never give you what you need. So because we've got all our cables that are all in underground, you will only take so much power. You're not allowed to plug it into your caravan because your caravan is plugged in on a plug. And then basically you just got your car charging through an extension through the window, we're getting caravan fires, we're getting all sorts around the
there's some insurance issues with that.
So we hardwire them back to the pitch box, but at the pitch box, we can't, it's like putting another caravan on the road. So when you've got 6 vans on one feed, or 8 vans on one feed, you can't go put another 3 vans on it because it just physically isn't possible. So there isn't enough power to the pitch, so we've limited them all to 6 amps. Well, to be fair, you get more plug in a 13 amp plug than you go out of a 6 amp charger, but that's the only way you could do it. You can buy them now at 8 amps, regulated down, and they'll work off an RFID card, or they'll work off the internet. But even the RFID card needs an internet connection or a telephone connection to work.
Yeah.
So we put the 222 kilowatt ones down there, which is 11 each, and at that point people can use them. But they're hardwired into the system, and we have internet issues with them. Because when they were first put in, they wouldn't work, because they worked on a telephone connection.
Is capacity an issue around the park, Matt, or are there places where we can put some high speed chargers?
On the big main, where we have the big main, we can definitely go high speed on there.
Can we? And how many of those will we be able to put in?
Depending on locations, because obviously at Skelwith, whatever we do, we try and tie it in rather than just blast a big hole and put car parking, for example. So what we could have four locations on the park that we could.
Well, we could actually use, but again, each
Like 25 grand a piece.
say for 25 grand a piece. So at the point you go and spend 25 grand plus all its wiring costs and all its connection costs, if you then start, I mean, when I go to booths, it's 85 pence a kilowatt. It doesn't matter how much they pay for it, that's how much it costs me to physically plug in. So that's offsetting the cost of the installation. So if we were to go and spend, I don't know, 50 grand on 2 chargers and have them all wired in, we've got to get that 50 grand back somewhere. Well, it's not going to come back in electricity charges because it'll take 50 years to pay for itself.
So I think one of the things that to ask our customers is whether there is an appetite for more electric chargers. And I know the Instavolt ones, I think they're the superfast ones, they're up at about 25,000. But as we meet somewhere in the middle on capacity, I think we can reduce that price to probably 15,000, 16,000.
Yeah, if you had a fast instead of super fast, 80.
So if there is an appetite for electric chargers, more electric chargers up here at Skelwith that have a better capacity than the ones that we're using, because I certainly know that they don't wipe the face going forwards, then that's obviously something we could look at.
Yeah, and again, if you can charge an electric car in an hour and have enough to get home and get back and all the rest of it, that's doable. But if you're plugging it in, I mean, my car sits down here all day, every day, charging up all day, every day.
Should look at putting a hydrogen tank in somewhere to be ready for the future.
Hydrogen tank, but you know what we talked about that 3 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
So this is also the challenge. You hear these things out in the ether as to what's happening, and effectively we're running a small town. I think you're thinking about what else is on my mind. So technology keeps coming up, and it comes everywhere. And I think whenever there's a problem, it seems to be a technology problem. And I think if we look at the way we pay for things, both as a business now with how we pay out, and both how we get money in. I think it's fair to say that currently we've got 4 different agreements with different payment providers for different things, and that makes life difficult. And I know Emma and Rebecca in the office there are talking about streamlining that. I think what will be useful in my mind, and I don't know if you two have experienced this, but when you go and take your car in for a service, sometimes they send you a payment request. I certainly find that really useful, because I know what I'm paying for, I know when I'm paying it, and I know how to pay it, and I can do it there and then. So I think one of the things that I would like to do, is get to the situation where we can do that, and that also makes it easier, so that if you pay me, you know that you're paying me and it hasn't gone somewhere else in the world. So I think there's going to be a bit of work done on that this over the closed period. We're looking at a few different providers, and that's going to be quite interesting. I think while we're sat here and chewing the fat, I think one of the things that we've got to talk about just at the moment is this recent budget. I think from our point of view, I think the things that we've got to think about is certainly the people who work outside, that they've got more national insurance on their on the salary. So I'm guessing that people are not going to feel quite as flush as they were. And the big issue for us really is operating family businesses, because operating a family business, I think we've had the legs taken from underneath us. I'm not sure quite how we're going to deal with that, but I'm sure at some point or another we'll come up with a plan. There's a lot of chatter about us in the industry, and certainly we're thinking that it is going to impact how we run the businesses. So that's there to think about. But whilst we're talking about money, if we think about pitch fees, and pitch fees are always interesting, aren't they? There's always a lot of conversation about pitch fees, about what's included, where we're going to pitch it, how much it's going to be, how much it needs to be. And I think we felt that an appropriate rise was 3.1%. Now certainly, I was just checking CPI earlier on today, looking at that over the period. It's not too much, it's not too little. I think potentially we could lose a little bit of ground, particularly with NI and some of the other costs that are coming in. But I feel comfortable that that's where we're going to put the pitch fee. So where does that take us?
5660.
5660. That's got VAT on it, hasn't it? However, if you pay £100 early, if you pay it early, you get £100 discount. I'm correct in saying that, aren't I? Yeah. So obviously we'll push that out going forward. I think one of the things that I think about, thinking about the bonfire. So unfortunately last week I had COVID. So when the bonfire was on, I kept my distance, and I kept my distance away from everybody, so I wasn't part of the team. And I went and stayed in the cottage, or one of the cottages up the top, which I've not stayed in before, which by the way are really, really nice. And I love staying there, had a brilliant night's sleep, so that was all great. So that's just a plug to the cottages. But interestingly, driving home on the Sunday, I said to our two young boys, what do you think? And young Sam, yeah, I loved it. And Will, who's a bit more of a deeper thinker, said, yeah, he said, it was all right, Dad. He said, but it wasn't as good as a caravan, was it? And you know what? We haven't got a caravan on the park anymore, and we miss it. You know, we do miss it, because there's something actually quite special about coming up on a Friday night, dumping your stuff, getting in a caravan. And I think that's what we're about here at Skelwith. It's about that experience, I think. And that experience has got a cost to it. Safari tents, Matt.
Safari tents or suites?
For safari tents, safari suites, what do we call them?
Well, we have both now, safari tents and safari suites.
Okay.
So suites up on the top field.
Tell us about those.
So they're unique. I mean, probably the most tranquil area of the park. Fantastic views, amongst the wildlife, the deer, the badgers up there. Inside, we have gone to a high standard with the fixtures and fittings with them. Nice little quirky hot tub for two.
Yeah. So that's interesting, isn't it? When we were talking about doing those, I remember, was it a couple of years ago, we went to the innovation show? Yeah, something like that. And we went and had a look around. And one of the things that concerns me is that as we all get older, that the new generation aren't coming into caravanning. And actually it's not the case, but they're coming in a different way. And so the idea to create these two
couples retreats, or
these two people retreats was born.
The people who stayed in them will never come and rent a caravan from anywhere.
No, that's interesting, isn't it? And these are younger people, aren't they?
We had a couple came from London for one night.
And I think that's interesting with the younger generation. I think, I'm sort of putting myself in your camp now, not Geoff's camp.
Thanks.
I'm near it to you. But as soon as you get kids, things change, don't they?
Oh, it does that.
You know, you start to think about costs, you start to think about how much was that meal, how much was this, whereas beforehand, the two of you just go out and enjoy yourself.
That's what I wanted to do,
Yeah. So these tents are aimed at those people, aren't they?
Yeah.
Those people who wouldn't ordinarily stay in a caravan park and come and experience the Lake District. And actually, hopefully, in the future, they might have kids and they might go back and they might say, do you know what? That was just fantastic. Yeah.
And we're finding that with the safari tents.
Yeah.
Selling caravans now to people who've stayed in safari tents 2 or 3 times, and the hideaways. People who come and stay in the hideaways are buying caravans because they come here for a couple of times.
And that's the great thing of Skelwith as well. The amount of guests we have, whether it's static owners, family, or it's people staying glamping, touring, they don't know what we are in a state. You know, they don't know we have all the woodland, all the different accommodation offerings. The location, you know, what there is, like restaurant, pubs, locality, cycling routes, where we are. Yeah, there's so much to learn about Skelwith as well.
Yeah, and the history as well,
Yeah.
going back to the Marshall family, going back to the budget. If we can't find a way of pulling that all together, you know, there will be a time when it would have to pass to somebody else. So let's see what we can do to safeguard that. But talking about rentals for a minute, because I remember probably 15 years ago saying there is no way we're ever going to be in the rental market. And people saying to me, why didn't you go into the holiday cottage business? And we said, well, there's no way we're going into the holiday cottage business because that wasn't our core business. But it has, and it's still not our core business, but I think it's been really useful, both having the cottages in the village.
Well, the cottages have nothing to do with the caravan park.
They're not.
They run completely separate there, own completely separate there. We just managed them up there, and there can be open. Someone asked me why are they open longer than the park open? And outside the park, they don't come with a park licence which says you shut here, you shut there, and all the rest of it. They're completely separate to the park. So that's why they're open. You can book them for January if you want, but you can't come in your caravan because that's what the licence is.
But the people who are staying in those, and I think that was probably where I was getting to, the people who are staying in those are very different to the people who would stay on the holiday park, aren't they?
Guess who would never come to Skelwith?
Yeah. What else is on
Quite critical about the trees. Trees are what makes Skelwith Fold, but we have a woodland officer, our area woodland officer for the Forestry Commission. He's coming tomorrow with his regional plant health officer. So we have more trees dying, fir trees, on certain area of the park. So he's coming tomorrow to hopefully sample, examine the trees, because there is a danger we could lose, along with the larch, and then the storm Arwen, we could lose a lot more of the fir trees. The softwoods, the fir trees, are the trees we don't want to lose because they're great for their squirrel habitat. But there is a danger looming that we've got another disease.
Again, he's going tomorrow, I think.
He's going tomorrow. Yeah.
So all these trees we're planting loads and loads of trees.
So we're mixing a bit of hardwood, but predominantly we're planting softwoods, Scots pine, grand fir, Douglas fir, to try and bring a variation throughout the woodland, but also encourage more habitat for their squirrels as well. But hopefully this disease, or whatever it is that's killing these other trees off, doesn't grab hold and ravage its way right through.
The problem is it's national, there's nothing we can do about it, we can't isolate ourselves from it.
No. So hopefully, see what comes tomorrow.
So probably what we should do, just thinking about this, we've got the Skelwith Fold app, and I don't know how many people are downloading that, but there's some quite interesting information on there. Also the ability to scan the QR codes around the park, which helps the children so they can see what's in the area. But whether we should think about evolving that QR code system so that if we do have an issue that we, create a QR code, so instead of asking us the question, what's happening here, you can scan a QR code and you get the information back. You know, I'm just wondering whether we could perhaps do that. I think I said it in my newsletter at the beginning of the year. I'm not a big fan of technology, but you know that could well be useful. So there's been some chatter about closing.
Yeah. So people say, why are we not open for the February half term? Everybody's licence agreement has always said, and will always say, the 15th of November. We shut on the 15th of November and we open the 1st of March. When we got the extension of the licence, we decided we would stay open until the day after Ambleside Lights, just because that meant that the customers could come and go to Ambleside Lights. This year it's on the 16th, last year it was on the year before it was on the 18th and 19th, so that varies the end time. Apart from the COVID year when you stayed open until the end of November, which then we fell foul of Storm Arwen at the time, which turned out to be a disaster. But apart from that, we have no licence at all from the middle of January to the 28th, 29th of February. We can never open on that half term because we have no licence for it. Even if we wanted to, we can't open. We could open longer, but the problem when you open longer is you end up with frost, ice, all the rest of it. We've still got 300 vans to drain down in the next 3 weeks. This year we were lucky. A couple of years ago we got caught out and it was freezing while people were still here. So we then take that risk on the drain down. Now, a lot of places where they open for longer, you have to do basically a full drain down every time they leave. Which here, when it's minus 18 and it freezes underground, then people will have a lot of problems.
Well, you'd have the health safety risk factor. People slip icy patios, deckings, roads, footpaths.
Yeah.
People slip, break their leg, bang their heads.
Yeah.
You've got that factor as well.
So the first 2 weeks in January, when the weather's generally bad around that time, unless you're at a foot before you probably won't get up the drive. Before Christmas we're doing all the big noisy stuff. We've got other stuff going on. So we're moving vans, we've got all the vans to change over. So it will be very nice if you were sat there while we were building the pickup right next door to you. We had big machines going and packing machines going.
We're just thinking about licence agreements, Geoff, that you mentioned there. Certainly if ever we get a situation that comes in, my first place to default to is the licence agreement. What does the agreement say? I know you've got a view on what you would call urbanising the park.
Yes, we've got 320 mini allotments around the park. There's not all one tied in landscape at Skelwith, so to speak.
Yeah, so I think the licence agreement actually works as a really good document. It works as a good document both actually for and against us, doesn't it? Because it sets out the criteria under which we're prepared to do business. But it also sets out what we're going to do for our customers. And certainly I know that we refer to it quite often when something happens. It's what does the agreement say?
The most common one is trees.
Yeah.
Can you cut that tree down in the way of your satellite signal? Can you cut that tree down blocking the sun?
Yeah.
Can you cut that tree? Can you lift the branches up because the acorns fall on the roof of the caravan?
I've got a good Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, I've got a good Wi-Fi signal. The trees are here. The trees are here. We've got a caravan here. So if someone buys a pitch that's next to the tree's there.
Certainly, I think the Park Authority. Well, I know the Park Authority get very excited when we do cut trees down, and we've got an issue of notification with them, haven't we? So I think it's fair to say if something crops up that we're not sure about, we always refer to the agreement, and so that means that whether it be Matt, you, me, or whoever, can always give you the same answer, and hopefully what is the right answer. From staffing. So I think we've been blessed this year with some really decent people, a real broad church of people, I've got to say. We've got all sorts of different personalities, haven't we?
But we work really well together. It's a really, really good team this year.
Yeah. And at the Warden team, how many of them are coming back?
All of them.
All of them.
They're like all that.
Yeah.
Really that.
Yeah. So that's great news. Right. Okay.
So obviously there are a few changes inside.
Yeah.
The obvious.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think most of the staff we've got will be the same staff we have next year.
Yeah. It's been great. I think all the customers love the staff. The reviews we've been getting all year have been absolutely fantastic.
Is that on the rental stuff or on tours?
And then the feedback from static owners as well.
And that's really important, isn't it? Because when we look at the finances and we think how much each element brings into the business, I mean, it's fairly equal, isn't it? It's a third. But that's all thirds. That's 4/3, isn't it? third. And it's really important that we keep those standards up. And I know, as I said before, rentals has been down a little bit. That said, on a positive note, and I think we'll probably finish this conversation on a positive note. Last week, the AA, who are now the awarding body, awarding and I was going to say marking body. What do we call it? Scrutinising body of the industry, awarded us with the best park in the north of England. So,
and overall,
brilliant. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it Hull Country?
I don't think
It
it
says on it.
is. That what it says? Yeah. Well, that's fantastic then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, you know, that's real testament to the staff because we don't know when these inspectors are coming around. We don't know how they're going to mystery shoppers. So actually, that's interesting, isn't it? Because we got the Cumbria Tourism Awards. We won that one, which that'll be taking us through to the national awards. So, do you know what? That's really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all based on mystery shoppers and the way our customers appreciate the way we deal with them.
So, don't know how this conversation's going to have gone. I don't know whether it's going to have been something that's been interesting. I don't know how long we've been going for because we've just been chatting about all sorts of stuff. If it is interesting, then let us know. If you'd like to hear more of these sort of things about us talking about the way the park operates and how things are going on. And from my point of view, and I think from Geoff and Matt, farewell. Thank you very much.
Thank you for a good year.
Yeah.
I've got to say it. Merry Christmas.
No.